Hey YouTube, it's Queen Pam Elon QP. For some reason the audio was not on, so I'm going to have to talk over it. But inspired by this card that I made with a Concord and knife turnaround as the background and a image from Creative Fabrica that I cut with my Cameo 5, I'm going to make a card with the Miss Ink Stamps stencil in the background instead of the Concord and Knight stamps. So we saw these in the haul that I got the video previous to this one in case you want to see what all I got. But we're going to use this girl, and she has a cutoff at the top of her head, so she can either be at the top or she can be at the bottom. I don't know where she'll end up. Well, actually, I do because, this is done now. But this stencil comes with a placement guide, and I think I'm going to use it, but then I decide that a bigger piece of paper would be better. So I'm going to pause the video eventually and go and find a bigger piece of paper because um, I need to see the whole stencil, and it'll just be easier if I get a bigger piece of paper and then I can cut it down at the end, which I did do. So I'm getting started. I'm going to start with stencil number 1. And I'm going to use some Simon Says stamp positively saturated inks. I'm going to show those in a minute. That's what the stencils will make. These are the colors I'm going to use: paprika, allspice, and nutmeg. I've already got my bigger piece of paper, and we're just going to pounce on all the colors. This go round, I am hoping not to shift any stencils and whatnot, so and I'm going to make sure that there's no color coming off on that pouncer. These are not Picket Fits pouncers. These are the no-name ones off of Amazon. I sped up this double time because I'm just pouncing and putting on colors and moving through the stencils. I believe there are 5 stencils, and so we'd be here all day if I let you just watch in real time. And if double time's not fast enough for you, please feel free to use the slider on YouTube and make it go even faster. I'm not gonna talk unless I see something that needs to be said. I'm switching to the second color, and I think the second color is nutmeg. No, I started with nutmeg. The second color is allspice. The third color will be paprika. And then for the final stencil, I'm going to use some VersaFine black. It is VersaFine, the original Onyx black. So I'm just going to let you watch, and there'll be silence until something needs to be said. had my stencil, my not my stencil order, my ink color incorrect. I gave you the order wrong. So it was nutmeg was the lightest, paprika was my middle color, and allspice was my darkest color. And so that's what I was just putting on, some allspice. And now I'm going to go to that fifth stencil and decide to use the Versifying Clair Onyx Black because the girl has black in her. And so I needed to bring black into the background as well to, have some unity. And you will see me switch from the pouncer over to a brush because there are a couple of stencils where the pouncer just wasn't getting into the details well enough for me. And so I switched to a stencil brush. So here I'm looking at the index that I made for myself, checking to see which ones that the pouncer didn't really get because I only used the pouncer on the blue. So I saw which ones, and now I'm going to switch to the brush and brush them on. And so I decided I'd, hit a few more of them, even though they didn't necessarily need it. But there's one that's got like little pinholes, and the pouncer just didn't get in there good enough. And so what I had said just right before then is sometimes you need to know when to stop because I did shift the stencil by mistake. Luckily, I had stopped. And also, when you're using a stencil brush, go in both directions. Right, circle to the right, and then circle to the left. I'm deciding here to add some black to the white of the die cut. She was from Creative Fabrica, and I put her into my Silhouette Studio um, software, do the print and cut on some really sturdy cardstock. And I want to say I used paper tray ink, white paper. It's like 110 pounds, very sturdy. So everything's cleaned up from the stenciling, and I wished I had kept filming because I cleaned off my mat with that ink on 3 cleaner. I dabbed it on, rubbed it off, and then I always follow that with some water so that if there's any residue, it'll be gone. And what you could have heard if it had been recording is it got it squeaky clean. There was a squeak. So I cut my paper in half and I'm scoring it so that I can have an A2 card. Um, Not the 10th fold, but the other fold. Not the top folding, the side folding card. But you will see in a moment it's going to end up being a 10th fold, a top folding. I put my paper into the corner of my scoreboard because it tends to help me line up things better. And then I burnish the score with my Teflon bone folder. Do a little cleanup and then get ready and decide what to do with the stencil thing. I'm going to die cut it because I love the finished edge that a die cut gives. And I have some dies, some A2 dies from Trinity Stamps. It's A2 embossed, and they give a really great finish to the edge, which you will see momentarily. So if you see that nice raised edge, it pressed it in like an embossing folder would do around that edge and just gives it a really great finish. So now I have to decide where she's going to go. She could go at the top if I wanted to put like something at the bottom, but then I lose all my stenciling. She could go at the bottom, but I just don't like that cutoff of her head. So then I discovered she's the right size, head cut off and all, if I rotate the card. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue her on, and then I will be able to cut off the little bit of difference that she is. She's a little bit bigger than the die cut. So I'm going to glue her on with my glue press from my Sweet Petunia, and I've modified it to make it the way I need it to be. And I don't want her dead center because I want to put my sentiment off to the side. So I'm going to let the glue set up a little bit. Got this really large block, and in the clearance bin at Marco's Paper. Well, it wasn't a clearance bin, but it had a 50% sticker on it. God awful heavy and large. So perfect for this. And so now I'm trying to figure out, well, while I'm letting it dry, I'm going to cut it with my knife because I want it to be precise because I did that lovely die cut. And so I want it to be really straight. So I'm going to get a ruler, line that all up, and cut it. 3 or 4 passes, and that's all you need with a good sharp knife. It comes away, and it's almost like I die cut her too. So I want her to be lined up really well. So I have these guides. Um, I thought they would work, but none of them is the correct size for the die cut that I chose from Trinity. So I think I'm gonna have to die cut all of those out and see what the sizes of the die cuts are in that Trinity set. And I thought maybe it was a bigger one would work, but it nope, didn't. The way you use these is you stick them in your MISTI and then things line up. It really looks like there, like it would really line up, but when I got it in the MISTI, it did not want to do that. All right, so it wouldn't glue. I mean, it wouldn't, my little tool wouldn't line it up properly, so I'm just going to eyeball it. And what I like to do is get it even on one side and either the top or the bottom, and then I know all 4 sides will line up. And you would think I would just do this, but sometimes you just want perfection, and the tool just makes it work. So now while she's drying on there, I'm going to decide what um, should she say? What should the card be about? And so I find a die from Simon Says Stamp on my desk that I want to use called Here for You. And I think it's one piece, but it's actually the words come out separately. And so that makes it lovely. And so I'm going to go away and die cut it and be right back. So I have die cut it and discovered that it was in 3 pieces, which I could have seen if I just looked at the package and paid attention. And so I'm going to show you how I glue my words. I've cut it twice, so I want to stack them up so that they're a little more dimensional. And so is what I do is I put a little bit of glue out in the corner of my silicone mat. The glass mat would work well. And I use a brush. My dad was a carpenter, so I know about these things. A silly brush, SILI brush, and I put a little glue out and I pick it up with the brush. And then I take the glue and I dab it on the front of one of the die cuts. And then I move it to a clean spot and I lay the second die cut on top. And I use the tweezers to squeeze, to pinch in between open spots or the 2 die cuts to make sure that they are perfectly aligned. And in a second here, I will finish with this one and hold it up so that you can see just how well this process works. And it ends up no glue on the top and only glue in between, and everything's lovely. So you can see it's just lined up perfectly. I'm going to do the rest of the words in double time and be back. Now you can watch me play around with where we're going to put the words. Going to end up being right down vertical off to the right, but I got to play with it for a little while. And then we're practically done. Now she's done. And that's pretty much it. So if you've hung out with me for this long, I appreciate you. I don't think I'm going to put any bling on it. I haven't as of yet, and this video's over. Um, I looked around at some and I was like, no, that doesn't even go. So that's no. I looked at a couple and still don't go. And so I've decided, probably no bling on this one. What? I know. So thank you for watching. And as always, I leave you in the hands of the Creator. I appreciate you, all your likes, your comments, and if you're a subscriber, thank you so much.